Hi everyone, it's Jessica Dybzinski. Thanks for coming by today to my channel. I am crafting today for the Craft IQ September challenge. This is basically like a recipe challenge where we're given 7 different items to include. So I have pulled this 4x6 photo of my daughter on the first day of school, and then I've also gotten a couple of papers here from the Backyard Bliss collection from Close to My Heart, as well as a few of the mix-in papers that go along with that collection. I was really inspired by all the flowers in the background of the photo. Now, I did find this pin on Pinterest, which I will link down below, and I am using that as a loose guide for how my layout will come together. Now, looking at my list, one of the things I need to do is include the color green, and so I have matted my photo on a piece of pine colored cardstock. And then I've gone ahead and edge distressed some of my papers already using that same color of ink pad. Now this piece of blue pattern paper here, I am going to cut it into a pennant, and so I like to do that just by putting a little slit up the middle and then cutting from the corner to the top of that slit. And then I will go ahead and finish edge distressing this piece as well, just by swiping my ink pad across the edge of the paper. So I did that to all the other papers as well using the same color ink, and I want to kind of lay things out a little bit here and get a sense for where I might do my stenciling. So one of the things that I need to include for this challenge is stenciling onto white cardstock. So I've grabbed a little stencil and my opaque matte texture paste in white, and I was thinking about this stencil, but then I changed my mind. I liked this little one instead because they kind of, I don't know, just seem to go along with the flower theme a little bit better. So I did glue all of those other pieces of paper, my photo and the pattern paper and everything. I glued them all together so I could kind of pick it up and move it as one as I was figuring out this stencil part of the challenge. And that way I could just slide it to the side, grab my washi tape, and then hold this stencil down in place where I want it to go. So my vision is that I'm going to have like a little bit coming out of the top of that paper cluster like there, and then I'll put it in 2 other points around my page as well, just to create that visual triangle. And I'm going to keep my texture paste as white and just do a little bit of really subtle white on white stenciling. So I do sometimes like to mix my inks or like distress oxide inks in with this texture paste and create some fun colors. That's a fun technique too, but for this one I'm just going to leave it as white. And I'm actually going to spread it on fairly thin because I'm anxious to keep creating this page and I don't want to wait too terribly long for it to dry. So I'm just spreading it on very thinly, and I know you can't really see that very well, so I did cut a lot of this out because it's white on white and you can't really see what's going on here. But what I did is I just kept grabbing that whole cluster of the papers in the photo and kind of laying it back over carefully to see if I liked what I had. And then I just moved around the page. And so pretty much just repeating that same process. Now, one little tip, if you are new to texture paste, it does actually dry fairly quickly, which is one reason why it's very important to clean up as quickly as possible, because once that stuff dries, it can really be a pain to clean off of your stencils or your palette knife. So definitely keep your lid screwed on tight and clean up your tools as soon as you are done playing with them. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take a little break, clean everything up. And about the time that I cleaned up and I changed the sheets on my daughter's beds and I think threw in a load of laundry, it was all dry. So it really, like I said, it doesn't take that long to dry. And I did keep it fairly thin just to speed up that process. So now that I've got that stenciling done, I'm ready to commit with this whole cluster of pattern papers and my photo. And I'm going to put it about so on the page using my T-square ruler and my Versamat to keep everything straight. Love that trick. And now comes the part that sometimes can be a little bit challenging for me, and that is the embellishment. So I went into my stamp collection and I found this really old one, and I'm going to use the stamp here that says first day of school because this was the first day of school just this fall. And I'm going to stamp that in pine ink. Because again, one of those layers that I had to include for this challenge was adding green. And even though I've already done that, I thought, you know, it doesn't hurt to look for other ways to include that on this layout again. And I like how it just kind of draws in those little pops of green that are in the pattern paper and on the photo mat. So I've just cut this out. There we go. I've cut out this little square actually using this this die cut here from a set that I have for making waterfall cards. I actually don't make waterfall cards that often, but I use those other die cut pieces in that set quite a bit for little embellishments like this. So then I went into my stash again and I found this old stamp set called Woodland Greetings because another layer I need to include is that I have to have 3 creatures on my layout. Now, normally I love including animals on my layout, but for some reason, this was the one that really stumped me on this challenge this month. There's always one thing that kind of gets me, and this month it was including the 3 creatures. I was really kind of, what am I going to put? I'm not sure. So I turned to the sticker sheet that goes along with this same paper collection, and I thought, well, maybe, I already used the chickens that were on there in a different layout, but I did have 2 bees and a bird and a dragonfly, and I thought, well, those could be the creatures. So while I was thinking about it, I did kind of play around a little bit with this bigger flower sticker, and I used my anti-static pouch, which is just this bag full of powder, to remove the adhesive stickiness off the back of it. That way I could kind of test it out a little bit before committing to its placement. And then you can see I've done the same thing to some of the other little stickers from that sticker sheet as well. So I didn't really figure anything out except for the flowers. So I'm still not sure if my creatures are going to be the ones from the sticker sheet or if I'm going to go back to that one stamp set where I was kind of thinking about some of the animals were pretty cute and maybe stamping them and putting them around the page. I don't know. So here again, you can kind of see I'm still kind of fussing with the flowers, keeping it safe at the moment while I'm contemplating those 3 creatures. And I didn't really want the rain boot that was part of that one sticker, so I just cut the flowers off that were out of the top of it. And then I'm going to use that to go behind my first day of school title right here. And then I'll just stick another flower as well, just to kind of keep building onto these clusters. Now I know I'm going to need something up in that top left-hand corner just to kind of finish my visual triangle. So as of right now, I really just have my 2 points going. And so that again is something else that I am thinking about at this point in the process. But I've decided to slide this cute little blue sticker down under there. And then again, what do? I don't know. I really liked that bird, but I don't know. He just didn't seem to fit right. So then I thought, maybe the bees, they're kind of cute. I like them. I do actually end up using them, but it took me a while to get to that point before I was sure. And then I thought, well, maybe the dragonfly, and I kind of placed him around a little bit. I don't know. It was really a tough decision for me. Okay, yet another layer on this challenge is to include the shape of a heart. So one of my favorite embellishments are my wooden embellishments from Close to My Heart. So I just went in and found a bunch of wooden hearts and started scattering them around the page. And then I figured out what I wanted to do with that 3rd point for my 3rd cluster. I used that same color pine cardstock that I had matted my photo in, and I cut out a stitched circle with one of my thin cuts. And I'm going to tuck that in up there, and that will be the 3rd point, and then that way I can add a heart up there. I realized pretty quickly that this one that I had left out on my desk was going to be too small, so later I will go in and find a bigger one to put in that spot because it just didn't fill up the space enough. And then I'm also going to journal over the top of this circle because another layer that I needed to do was to journal around a border of some sort. So I'm going to keep it pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to say. It was just the first day of the 6th grade. So that's kind of the information that I included, but I just wrote it in my gray lip pen around the top of that circle. And then now I am back to, once again, the creatures, oh my goodness. So I have this really old stamp set that I've actually never used, but I really love it. And every time I pull it out, I'm like, this is going to be the time that I use it. And then I don't. So there are 2 birds on there, and they are both facing in different directions. And I thought, well, I can do the one bird that's facing in this direction up here, and then stamp the bird that faces in the other direction down in the other bottom corner of my page. And at first I had stamped that top bird in archival black ink, but then I thought once I stamped him, I was like, maybe I'm going to want to color these guys in. So I switched over to my intense black ink, which is good for coloring mediums. And I stamped this second bird down here, And as soon as I did, I was like, oh, I didn't stamp him very well. Now, the beauty about Close to My Heart's clear stamps is that usually you can line right up and stamp over them, but I was trying really hard not to put my head in the shot, and I did not do a good job attempting to stamp him a second time, and I totally screwed it up. So bye-bye birds. I went back to the sticker sheet and found a couple of flower stickers, and I had to cover them up because it just really was not working for me. And then I decided to go with the bees and the dragonfly after all to get those 3 creatures in. It is what it is. So that was the step that got me, but otherwise I've got everything that was on the list. This is a really fun challenge that I like to participate in on the 20th of every month. There are a couple of other crafters who are participating as well, and I will leave links to their videos down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not already a subscriber, I would appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button. I do enjoy reading everybody's comments, so feel free to leave one down below. And my new kitten, Petunia, she was loving those flowers as well, so I left her in this photo as well. All right, guys, have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Happy crafting. Bye.